Hello everyone, and welcome back to the IGS series on Team Ico's Shadow of the Colossus, where we hope to give you something a little different than those other video game channels. This video continues and concludes the final part in our video series, the analysis. For this analysis, we will be referring to Richard Lanham's style-substance matrix and how it operates within the game. For this third and final video, we'll be looking at the fourth spectrum in the matrix, reality. This fourth and final spectrum is called reality and consists of two ends on the scale of life. Life as information and life as drama. On the far left of this scale lies life as information, the view that life is little more than data, that we are controlled by our genes, driven through life to spread that information. This shares some similarities with some Eastern religions and with transcendentalism, and views everything as part of the unconscious, quote, organism of life. On the other end of the spectrum lies life as drama, which is the view that Shakespeare pretty much summed up in one sentence, saying, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." This worldview sees the universe as self-conscious, and everyone within it as having a part to play in the story of life. Now, I know what you're all thinking. What does this have to do with a video game? And I'm here to say that it's one of the largest cruxes of the entire attention trap that the game is. We discussed in earlier videos that the lack of detail in the game's narrative operates as an attention trap for our mind's addiction to the solution of mystery. But some players have taken this to a completely new level. In an article by Craig Owens published on Eurogamer.net entitled, quote, "The Quest for the Colossus's Last Big Secret," Owen explores the society of players who dedicate themselves to seeking out answers to the many mysteries presented throughout the game. Within his discussion, he reveals many interesting findings in which players, drawn to discover the answers of this mysterious game, have broken into the actual code to find answers. Just as scientists attempting to find the meaning of life through the study of genetics, so too have gamers essentially cut open this game to find something in its genes. Although much is still left to subjective speculation, there is much remaining in the game's code which was left out of the final game, such as arenas for colossi that never made it into the final cut. So those who are attracted to the idea that life is information will not be disappointed when they open up the hood of Shadow of the Colossus in their search for meaning within the game, as much lies below the surface of the code to be discovered. Finally comes the last end of the spectrum, life as drama. This is probably the most obvious, but most profound in the overall draw factor to Shadow of the Colossus. In this lies the idea that there is a role to fill in this game by the players themselves, namely that of the player character Wander. The protagonist of the game, Wander features no real backstory, save that he's attempting to save the woman he loves. Other than that, there are no flashbacks to his life, no exposition to be found to know what he's all about. This ambiguity leaves a massive gap to fill in the minds of the gamers, thus allowing themselves to put their individual selves onto Wander in the same way that a silent protagonist like Link in The Legend of Zelda might serve as a sort of placeholder for the gamer himself or herself. One of the main draws within fantasy literature is its ability to allow people to escape their everyday lives and imagine themselves in the place of a certain character within a fully imagined world, and Shadow of the Colossus does just this. By making Wander essentially hollow, players are attracted to the ability to place themselves into Wander's shoes, and it no longer becomes simply Wander's journey, but the gamer's as well. This ability to act out the fantasy of heroism and sacrifice is the main draw that people have towards fantasy action and adventure games. But with other games having such a detailed universe, players are not able to really delve into the character such as Wander in typical fashion. The personal struggle between Wander and the Colossi essentially becomes the player's struggle due to the isolation of both whilst playing, as it is a single-player game, but also because players feel as if they are acting through Wander rather than simply controlling him, due to the realistic nature of the controls. Typically, games do not have fatigue meters when climbing, or have a horse which has a mind of its own, but this game does. Not being able to control every single element of the game brings a certain reality and gravity to the situation, which brings players into a more fully developed world. This is because of how personal struggles become. such as it's not just Wander's fault, but he cannot hold onto a ledge forever. It's also the players. The hollowness of wonder and realistic nature of the game's controls allows the players to dive into the role of Wander and explore the world as a stage, one which they are the central characters on. This escapism allows players to enter into a fantasy world and pretend they are slaying majestic beasts and doing heroic deeds not possible in this world, and by presenting on a stage that is the game, players come to fulfill their desires of becoming a hero on such a grand stage. Everyone, thanks for watching, IGS. We still don't have a capture card, and credit for the footage, as always, goes to Charles Bronson, who very kindly agreed to let us use his. You can find a link to his channel in the description. If you enjoyed the video, check out the rest of our Shadow of the Colossus series below, and hit the like and subscribe buttons. See you next time.